Still beautiful, though the beauty had begun to harden, to become something defensive, something that repelled rather than attracted. She had no skills. She could not farm. She had not even held a hoe for more than a few minutes. She did not know how to trade. She had no capital, no relationship with the market women. She could not cook well enough to sell food. She could not sew, could not weave, could not do anything of the things village used to do to survive in the village. For the first time, in the first month after she left her marriage, she lived on the charity of the church. No reluctant gift of cousins who remembered her father's title. She sat in her heart, waited for something to happen, for someone to rescue her, for Obina to return, unable to live without her. He did not return. She heard of him through the village gossip, which reached even the isolated heart. She had recovered from his health. He had moved to the city, to Enugu, where his mother's brother had found him work in the timber yard. He had married again, a quiet woman from their village, a widow with two children who knew how to keep a house. Hedize told herself she did not care. She told herself he was foolish, that his new wife was plain, that he would regret his choice. She told herself these things until his words lost the meaning, until they became sound without sense, like crying of the birds. The second month, she began to starve. The charity dried up, as charity does not do when repayment with gratitude or improvement. She tried to fetch water from the stream, but the other women drove her away, not with violence, but with coldness, with the withdrawal of recognition. She was not one of them. She had never been one of them. She tried to farm a small plot near her hut. She cleared the bush with a machete she borrowed. Cutting her hands blistered her soft palm. She planted yams too late in the season, in soil she did not prepare properly, the rotten ground. She tried to trade. She gathered wild fruit from the bush and carried them to the market, but she arrived late when the best customers had gone. Her fruits were overripened, damaged by careless carrying. She had enough for one meal, then none. The hunger changed her. It stripped away the layers of self-deception, the stories she had told herself about her own worth, her specialness, her exemption from the ordinary labor. She was not special. She was not exempt. She was a woman like any other, and she had failed to learn the lesson that kept women alive. One night, in the worst of the hunger, she had dreamt of her mother. Neka appeared young and healthy, as she had been before the grief, before the indulgence that had destroyed her daughter. She stood in the doorway of the old compound and looked at Adeze with terrible sadness. "You could have been anything," her mother said. "You could have been a mother, a grandmother, a respected elder. You could have love, children, a place in the world, but you would not bend. You would not learn, and now the wind has broken you." Adeze woke weeping, but the weeping was different this time. It was not self-pitying tears of a girl who had lost her comfort. It was the grief of a woman who finally recognized the magnitude of her loss. The transformation did not happen quickly. Pride dies hard, and Adeze's pride had been fed for years on the diet of her mother's love, her own beauty, her husband's patience. She did not wake up one morning humble and wise. She woke angry, hungry, resentful, and slowly began to walk. An old woman, Nyuabifwe, took a pity on her. Wanyifwe was a village oldest resident, nearly 90, blind in one eye with one twisted by arthritis, and a spirit that would not bend. She had known Adese's grandmother. She remembered the family head owner. You will work for me, Nuajipe said. Not request, a statement. You will sweep my compound, fetch my water, cook my food. In return, I will teach you. I am too old to do for myself, but I am not too old to teach a fool. Adeze bristled at the word, but she was too angry to refuse. She swept, she fetched, she burned the 3 meals she prepared, and Wanyifwe made her to eat them anyway. They cared the rule, saying that waste was against her rule. Again, the old woman said, watch the fire, feel the heat, cook. Cooking is not a magic. It is attention. It is care. At Disneyland, she learned to gauge the temperature of the fire by the color of the coal. She learned to season the smell by taste, by subtle changes in texture. She learned to pound yam properly, to achieve a smooth elastic that marked a woman's competence. Her arm ached, her back screamed. She went to bed each night exhausted, smelling of smoke and sweat, and woke to do it again. Nuanyife taught her other things, how to wash clothes so they were truly clean, not just rinse, how to mend a thatched roof, how to weave basket, how to make soap from palm ash and oil, how to plant in the proper season, to weed without damaging the crop, to harvest and to store against the angry moths. You think this is small work? Wanyife said one evening as they shelled beans together. You think it is beneath you, but this is the work that makes life possible. The farmer feeds the body, the mother feeds the spirit, and the wife feeds the home. Without this, we are animals. With them, we are people. Adeze listened. She was 29 now. Her beauty had faded into something else, something harder, but more genuine. Her hands were calloused. Her back was straight from hard labor, not from dancing. She spoke to the other women at the stream now, not as an equal. She had not earned that, but as a student, a pertinent, someone who trying to find a way back. She heard of Obina's success. He had become a foreman at a timber yard. He had built a house in Enugu, a proper house with tin roof and cement. His wife had borne him a son, then a daughter. He was happy, they said. He had found peace that Adeze had denied him. She wanted to hate him for this, to believe that he had betrayed her by thriving without her. But she could not. She remembered too clearly the look in his eyes when he had left the exhaustion, the death of love. She said he had done that. She had killed what was good in him, and he had found strength to resurrect himself elsewhere. She wrote him a letter. It took her 3 days to compose. Her primary school English, rusty, her pride fighting every word. She did not ask for reconciliation. She did not ask for money or help. She simply apologized. She acknowledged what she had done, the slow violence of her neglect, the death by 1,000 small failures. She wished him well. She wished his children well. She realized him had finally taken the obligation, real or imagined, that still bind him to her. She did not send it. She kept it in the wooden box that had held a few possessions. And sometimes she took it out, read it, and remind herself of who she had been and who she was becoming. Adese was 32 when Nwanyife died. The old woman went peacefully in her sleep. After a day of ordinary work, she left Adese a hut, her tools, her small store of seed and cloth. It was not wealth, but it was the beginning. Adese had become, in years of service, a competent woman. She could farm, cook, trade, mend. She had saved a little money from working for her families when Wanyife did not need her. She had begun to be trusted, if not welcomed, by the village women. She was no longer the lazy wife. She had killed her husband. Who had killed her husband? She was transformed woman, the cautionary tale with a hopeful ending, the proof that even the fallen could rise. But she was still alone. The young men of the village did not look at her. She was too old, too marked by failure, too poor to offer any dowry worth mentioning. The widowers sought younger wives or women with children who could work in their farm. She was neither. She considered leaving, going to the city, to Lagos, Onisha, where no one knew her. She had cousins there, distant connection who might help her find work as a house girl, a cook, a nanny to some wealthy family's children. She could disappear into anonymity of the city, become just another face in the crowd, another woman struggling to survive. But she did not go. Something held her in Umuobi, in the village that had witnessed her fail, her slow rise. Perhaps it was pride, or a desire to complete the story here, where it had begun. Perhaps it was fear of the unknown, the city with its dangers and its temptation. Perhaps it was simply that she had grown roots in the red earth, however shallow, and could not bear the tear them up. She expanded her farming. She rented a small plot from a family that had left for the city, paying laborers what she could and could not pay in cash. She grew yams, cassava, vegetable. She raised chicken, then goats. She began to sell at the market, arriving early with produce that was fresh and properly arranged, earning a reputation for honesty and fair dealing. She built a small house, larger than Nwanyife hut, with a proper roof and raised floor to keep from the flood waters. She planted a mango tree in the compound and a guava and flowers that attracted bees and butterflies. She made her home beautiful with beauty, lazy of beauty decoration, but with the hand beauty of order and care. And she waited, not for Bina. She had realized that long hope had gone, not for any specific man, any specific future. She waited for her own life to reveal its purpose, for the meaning of her survival to become clear. It became in unexpected form. A child left at her door one rainy morning, wrapped in a cloth that had been fine, but now stained and torn. A girl, perhaps 2 years old, with her eyes that were wide open and frightened, and somehow familiar. Adese took her in. She asked at the village, at the church, at the market. No one claimed the child. No one knew her. She was perhaps from the city, abandoned by her mother who could not feed her. She left her, the first kind face that seemed likely to help. Adese named her Nneka after her own mother. She fed her, washed her, sang to her songs she remembered from her own childhood. She taught her to sweep, to fetch water, to pound yam, not as labor, but as a play, as a natural activity of a child in a home. She told her stories, the whole stories of the village, of the tortoise and the lion, of a farmer and the rain, of a woman who was lazy and lost everything. Did she die? Little Neka asked, when she was old enough to understand. No, Adese said. She learned. She became wise. She found that work is not punishment but power, that care is not slavery but love. She found in the end that the home she had neglected was not a prison but a garden. And though she lost the one thing she loved, she grew a new life from the seed of her regret. Did she find another husband? Adesi smiled. No, my heart. She did not need one. She had you. Adeze was 50 when she saw Obina again. It was at EG Festival, the New Yam celebration, when she had first attracted his notice so many years ago. She did not dance now. She sat with the elders, the women who had earned their rest. She watched the young people with the mixed emotion of memory and mortality. He was old. His hair was grey, his back bent from years of hard labor. He walked with a stick, leaning one of the arm of the young man, his son. She realized the boy was born after he left her. The boy had his father's broad face, his kind eyes. They saw each other. There was no avoiding it. Adeze rose slowly, her joints aching now, walked to where he stood. The crowd parted around them, the village witnessing theirs reunion of an ancient tragedy. Obina, she said. Adeze. His voice was unchanged. Still the thunder laugh made by a gentle age. You look well. And you? Your family? Good. My wife died 3 years ago. The children had grown, scattered. I came back to see the whole place before. It did not finish. Before I die, he meant. They walked together, away from the crowd, to the edge of the village where the mango trees grew. They sat on a fallen log, and they had once sat as young lovers and talked. He told her of his life in the city, the struggles, the success, the children he was proud of, the wife who had been a partner in a way Adeze never had. He told her of the peace he had found, the hard-won wisdom that came from building something with another person. She told him of her fall, her rise, the child she had raised, who was now a teacher in the city. She told him of the lessons learned, the price paid, the gratitude she felt for a second child she had not deserved. I am sorry, she said. The words she had finally written long ago, now spoken. For everything, for the dirt, for the neglect, for the selfishness, for killing what was good in you slowly, day by day, until you had no time but to flee in order to survive. He was quiet for a long time. Then he took a hand, the hand that was scattered and calloused now, so different from the soft he once held. I forgave you long ago, he said, not for your sake, for mine. Hatred is a heavy load to carry, but I am glad to see you have made a life, that you learned that the pain was not wasted. Would you, she hesitated, would you have done it differently? Married me, knowing? He smiled, the whole smile that made her love him. No, because I loved you. And love is not a calculation, it is a risk. Sometimes it fails. That does not make it wrong to try. They sat in silence as sun set, painting the sky in colors that reminded her of her wedding gala. In the village, the drum began, the dancing that would continue till morning. Young people finding each other, making the same mistakes, hoping for a different outcome. Will you dance? Obina asked. Hadize laughed. I'm too old. My bones. Nonsense. You were the best dancer in Umobi. Perhaps you still are. He stood with difficulty and offered her his arms. She took it, feeling the warmth of the familiar shape of his bones. They walked back to the square, to the circle of lights and music. For one song, they danced. Not as they danced as they were young people. With grace and fire, they danced slowly, carefully. Two old people who had survived their own failures, but they danced together, and the village watched. When the song ended, they parted with a blessing, not a curse. They went their separate ways into the night. Adeze died at 70, a respected elder, surrounded by young adopted children, by the women she had taught, by the evidence of life rebuilt from ruin. They buried her beside Nuanyife, in the hearth she had learned to love through labor. On her grave, they placed no expensive marker, no imported stone. They planted a mango and a guava and flowers that attracted bees. They placed a simple wooden carved by a grandson who had become a carpenter like the man she had once married. Here lies Adeze, who learnt that a home is not a gift, but a garden. Tend it, or it dies. And in the evening, when the work was done and the women of Umubi gathered at the stream, they told a story to their daughters, not as a warning against marriage or against beauty or against hope, but as a reminder that love, like land, requires labor, that comfort unattended becomes decay, that the smallest neglect repeated daily becomes the kind of death. And they taught their daughters to dance, yes, for joy, for celebration, but to be taught them to sweep, to plant, to build, to mend, and to make their lives a home that would stand, that would shelter, that would last. For this is the wisdom of Umobi, passed from mother to daughter, from age to youth, and from the women who learned too late to those who might learn in time. The roof does not mend itself, the yam does not pound itself, and the love does not keep itself. There are the works of women's hand, and they are holy, they are hard, and their foundation upon which